Okay, this video is going to be focusing on the ears in the context of the portrait in the front view. And as you can see, you don't really see much of the ear. This is my head turned even just a little bit to that side to see the one ear. If I'm looking straight forward, you don't see that much of the two ears. Nevertheless, they will be included in your drawing. From the side view, this is what your ear looks like, and that is important context to have. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in here on the ear that I'm going to start drawing on the left side. So right now I have just kind of a basic oval. One thing I will say too, before we start drawing the ear, it's a good thing to pay attention to the shape of that side of the head. So I am going to erase a little bit and just kind of note how, for me, the cheekbone comes out a little bit, and then the jawline comes in a little bit. Okay, so this part up here is going to overlap with my ear. I can also look at the overall shape a little bit more, so it sticks out a little bit more at the top and less at the bottom. All right, so I just altered that oval shape just a bit. And remember, this is falling in line with the bottom of the nose and around the center to top of the eye, or if you have a bigger ear, it might go a little higher and a little lower. If the head is tilted, the positioning of the ear is going to look different. But if you're just looking straight on, that's where you'll see it. In this upper part of the ear, we're going to start with this line here. So this is this sort of rim of the ear seen from the side. So starting against the head, get that cursor out of the way, I'm going to make kind of an angling up line. And I can angle that even a little further. And then from there, I'm going to kind of angle / curve back down. So see how this goes over a little bit. So this is essentially like seeing an ellipse. I am going to angle this in a little bit and angle this in a little bit because we are going to see a little bit of the ear kind of pop out and do this. So that would be this part right there that we're seeing pop out a little bit. Okay, so that'll pop out, and then this part kind of disappears behind that. So I did have to adjust those lines a little bit to make everything sort of fit together. So notice we are drawing in that basic area where we had the oval, but we're not using that exact oval. All right, then we have this lower part of the ear, the earlobe, popping back out again. Something like that. And you may see it curving back in toward the head a little bit. So there you have it in terms of the line drawing. I'm going to try to clean that up just a little bit for you guys so you can see it. And I will zoom in a little bit as well. Okay, so before we start to shade, that's what we're seeing. So I'm going to start. First of all, I want to make sure I still see that line of the head in between the ear. And then we're also going to fit in there, for me at least, there's a little bit of hair there. It may come down a little bit lower on you. So whether you have long hair or short hair, unless you're pretty much shaved bald, you are going to see a little bit of hair in there. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that little shape. It's going to overlap the ear. And it may overlap the ear quite a bit more, just depending on your hairstyle. So you may have your hair totally covered by your ears or coming over the top of your ear. So you can draw what you see. Okay, so that's kind of coming over a little bit of part of the ear there. I'll shade that in a little bit so you can kind of distinguish that right there is the hair, and we'll get more into the hairstyle later. All right, now right in here, that's going to be a shaded part of the ear. So I'm going to simply shade that in to make sure that I distinguish between the hair. I can either have it go darker, or I can have it go lighter, or, for a good pencil here, or I can have a gradation where it starts out darker and then gets a little bit lighter toward the hair. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So I just have to erase a little bit in there. Or you could even make it like a line of like a lighter gray in there. All right, now this part of the ear where it starts to pop out, and I'm going to just modify the shape a little bit as I see it. So you always kind of can make revisions as you go. When I shade, I tend to, it's almost like I get a redo. All right, so this part I'm going to shade from the head out a little bit and just shade it gray. So the whole thing will be shaded gray. And again, I'm going to make sure that line of the face is nice and firm. We don't want that to go away. Okay, then from this lower part, again, I'm going to shade and coming out. All right, so I'm making that gray. And then I'm going to shade the rest of the earlobe a light gray as well. Again, making sure I can shade out from this side of the face to make sure that you can still see the edge of the face. And I'm even going to shade lightly the rest of this gray as well. So you might see areas where it looks a little lighter, and we can keep those slightly lighter gray. So I'm just erasing back in a little bit. But nothing's going to be a really bright white of the page because it's set back on the head. When we go to do the other side, I'll go ahead and I'll do that as well the best I can. So I don't see it as well, which is why I said the best I can. So my photo reference won't be as helpful. To start out with, I'll make them fairly symmetrical. So I'm going to make sure they line up pretty much on the head. So notice how I didn't actually draw a line, but I pretended like I was going to draw a line. So that's where I want my ear to end. I'm starting out with that oval shape that gets bigger at the top, narrower at the bottom. Again, I want to make sure that my cheekbone looks right. So since my cheekbone pops out a little bit, and then my jaw comes out like so. All right, I'm just making sure I've got that firm. And again, if you see your hair pop in front of your ear, which again, you will unless you are bald, you'll see a little bit of that pop out. Now I see more on this side, but I'll start out at least with making it symmetrical so you can see more of the ear. And we'll just leave it like so. And I'll shade that in so you can distinguish what's happening with the hair. All right, now I've lost my good photo reference, but I'll just go and make it match the other side. So up here, I'll start with my angle coming out, and then my angle behind and in, so there's my ellipse. And then I'm going to have the center part of my ear popping out a little bit and back in. And then this part of the ear kind of angles down toward there, might disappear a little bit. And then this bottom part will have the lobe come back out. So I'm going to darken this line a little bit just so you can see it better. All right. And then from there, I'm going to shade in this part. Since my hair is dark, I'm going to leave a little bit of a light space here by the hair. Shading in from my face out here And then again, shading in from my face out here. And then making sure all of the ear has a little bit of gray shading on it. So you can have some areas a little darker than others. I might also try to make some of these lines blend into my shading a little bit more if possible, so I can make them lighter or make my shading darker. But there you have it basically. This top part of my ear, I need to make a little darker, so I'll switch pencils. My hair could be a little darker. Again, that's going to depend on your hair color. All right, so there you have it. The ears are not really a make or break part of your piece. So you don't necessarily want to have a ton of detail in them. You don't see a ton of detail. All right, there you have it.